According to the National Electrical Code, specifically Section 230.70 a disconnect is required next to the meter if the service equipment, such as the service panel, is located outside the building or structure, or if it is more than 6 feet, which is equivalent to 1.83 meters, from the point of attachment of the service entrance conductors to the building or structure. This code mandates that there shall be a readily accessible means of disconnecting the service conductors from the service entrance conductors. This requirement is primarily for safety reasons. Firstly, it allows emergency responders, such as firefighters, to quickly and safely disconnect the power to the building in case of a fire or other emergency. Secondly, it provides a convenient way for electricians or other qualified personnel to energize the service conductors for maintenance or repair work. The term readily accessible means that the disconnect must be easily reachable without having to climb over obstacles, remove barriers, or use tools other than those normally required to operate the disconnect. The disconnect should be located in a place where it is visible and easily identifiable. The disconnect typically consists of a switch or circuit breaker that can be used to interrupt the flow of electricity. It must be properly rated for the voltage and current of the service conductors. It's important to note that local codes or regulations may have additional requirements regarding the location and type of disconnects. Therefore, it is always advisable to consult with a licensed electrician or the local electrical inspector to ensure compliance with all applicable codes. The service entrance conductors are the wires that run from the utility company's transformer or distribution system to the building's service equipment. The point of attachment is where these conductors connect to the building's wiring system. If the distance between the point of attachment and the service equipment exceeds 6 feet, a disconnect is required to be located closer to the point of attachment. This ensures that the service conductors can be de-energized quickly and easily in case of an emergency. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is a widely adopted standard for safe electrical installations. It is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and best practices. It's important for electricians and other electrical professionals to stay up to date with the latest version of the NEC to ensure that their work meets the highest standards of safety and quality. The NEC is not a law itself, but it is often adopted by state and local governments as part of their building codes. This means that compliance with the NEC is legally required in many jurisdictions. Failure to comply with the NEC can result in fines, penalties, or even legal action. The requirement for a service disconnect near the meter is just one of many important safety provisions in the NEC. Other important requirements include proper grounding, overcurrent protection, and wiring methods. By following these requirements, electricians can help to ensure the safety of people and property. The NEC also covers other aspects of electrical installations, such as the sizing of conductors, the selection of overcurrent protection devices, and the installation of lighting fixtures. It is a comprehensive document that provides guidance on all aspects of electrical work. The NEC is not intended to be a substitute for proper training and experience. Electricians should always receive thorough training and gain practical experience before performing electrical work. The NEC is a valuable resource, but it is not a substitute for sound judgment and common sense. The service disconnect is an important safety device that can help to prevent electrical shocks and fires. It is essential to install and maintain service disconnects properly to ensure that they will function correctly in case of an emergency. When selecting a service disconnect, it is important to choose one that is rated for the voltage and current of the service conductors. The disconnect should also be suitable for the environment in which it will be installed. For example, a disconnect that is installed outdoors should be weatherproof. The installation of a service disconnect should be performed by a qualified electrician. The electrician will ensure that the disconnect is properly grounded and that it is connected to the service conductors in accordance with the NEC. Once the service disconnect is installed, it is important to test it periodically to ensure that it is functioning correctly. The test should be performed by a qualified electrician. If the service disconnect fails the test, it should be replaced immediately. The service disconnect should be inspected regularly for signs of damage or wear. If any damage is found, the disconnect should be repaired or replaced immediately. The service disconnect is a critical component of the electrical system. It is important to take steps to ensure that it is properly installed, maintained, and tested. By following these steps, you can help to prevent electrical shocks and fires. The purpose of the disconnect is to provide a way to isolate the electrical system of a building from the utility company's power grid. This can be necessary for a variety of reasons, such as during a power outage or when performing electrical work. The disconnect is typically located near the electric meter so that it is easily accessible. The NEC requires that the disconnect be readily accessible, meaning that it must be located in a place where it can be easily reached without the need for tools or ladders. The disconnect must also be clearly labeled so that it can be easily identified. The disconnect is typically a switch or circuit breaker that can be used to interrupt the flow of electricity. The disconnect must be rated for the voltage and current of the electrical system. The disconnect must also be properly grounded to protect against electrical shock. When performing electrical work, it is important to always disconnect the power to the circuit being worked on. This can be done by turning off the circuit breaker at the service panel or by using the service disconnect. Always use a voltage tester to verify that the power is off before beginning any electrical work. Never work on electrical equipment while it is energized. This can result in serious injury or death. If you are not qualified to perform electrical work, hire a licensed electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to have it done by someone who is trained and experienced. The NEC is a complex document, and it can be difficult to understand. If you have any questions about the NEC, consult with a licensed electrician or electrical inspector. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay up to date with the latest version. The NEC is available for purchase from the National Fire Protection Association. The NEC is also available online. The NEC is an important resource for electricians and other electrical professionals. It provides guidance on the safe installation and maintenance of electrical systems. By following the NEC, you can help to prevent electrical shocks and fires. The National Electrical Code Section 230.70 AM focuses on the accessibility of service disconnecting means. This is not just a matter of convenience, it is a critical safety requirement. The code mandates a readily accessible means of disconnecting service conductors. The term readily accessible is specifically defined in the NEC. It means capable of being reached quickly for operation, without requiring those to whom ready access is requisite to climb over or remove obstacles or resort to portable ladders, and so forth. So, the location of the disconnect must be free from obstructions that could hinder its use in an emergency. This includes ensuring that the disconnect is not blocked by landscaping, stored items, or architectural features. The disconnect must be easily identifiable as well. It needs to be clearly marked and labeled to avoid confusion, especially in emergency situations. The labeling should be durable and resistant to environmental conditions. The disconnect should be able to withstand exposure to sunlight, moisture, and temperature changes. The type of disconnect used must be suitable for the application. It should be rated for the voltage and current it will be subjected to. It must be designed to safely interrupt the flow of electricity under both normal and fault conditions. The disconnect must also meet the requirements of other applicable standards, such as those of underwriters' laboratories, or AL. The NEC also addresses the specific requirements for service equipment located outside the building or structure. In these cases, the disconnect must be located either outside the building or structure, or immediately inside the building or structure at the point where the service conductors enter. This ensures that the disconnect is readily accessible to emergency responders, even if they cannot enter the building. The requirement for a disconnect within 6 feet of the point of attachment applies when the service equipment is located inside the building but more than 6 feet from where the service conductors enter. This is intended to minimize the length of unprotected service conductors inside the building. Unprotected service conductors can pose a fire hazard, as they are not protected by overcurrent devices. The disconnect provides a means to energize these conductors quickly in case of a problem. The NEC also allows for exceptions to the disconnect requirements in certain situations. For example, a disconnect is not required if the service equipment is located in a locked room or other enclosure that is accessible only to qualified persons. In these cases, the service equipment itself can serve as the disconnect. It is important to note that the NEC is a minimum standard. Local codes or regulations may have additional requirements that are more stringent than those of the NEC. Therefore, it is always advisable to consult with a licensed electrician or the local electrical inspector to ensure compliance with all applicable codes. The NEC is constantly evolving to address new technologies and safety concerns. It is important for electricians and other electrical professionals to stay up to date with the latest version of the NEC. This can be done by attending training courses, reading industry publications, and participating in professional organizations. The service disconnect is a critical safety component of any electrical system. By following the requirements of the NEC, you can help to ensure that the disconnect is properly installed, maintained, and operated. This will help to protect people and property from electrical hazards. Remember that the service disconnect's purpose is to isolate a building's electrical system from the utility grid, which is essential for safety during emergencies and electrical work. The NEC prioritizes its accessibility, meaning it must be easily reachable without obstructions, clearly labeled for quick identification, and rated appropriately for voltage, current, and environmental conditions. For service equipment located outdoors or more than 6 feet from the point of service conductor entry, a disconnect is mandatory to minimize unprotected conductor length and fire risks. While exceptions exist for restricted access areas, always consult local codes, a licensed electrician, or an electrical inspector for complete compliance. Staying informed about NEC updates is crucial for all electrical professionals to ensure the safe and effective operation of electrical systems.